Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be a review of the series Kate Daniels by Ilona Andrew. And I also want to show you my little crochet doll that I made. She is a witch and she is adorable. So I started this series on the recommendation of an indie author who is I actually found her on YouTube Shorts, of all things. She's the author of, I can't actually remember the title, but I'll put it up here. It's a book that I read a month or two ago, and it was delightful. And she also recommends a lot of books, and specifically she has Book Goblin, an alter ego of hers, recommend books. And I really like that method. Book Goblin is very cute. So I started reading them, and I really enjoyed them. I definitely am glad that I had the information about a little bit about what was going on later in the series, or I might have given up after the first book, because I had heard from this recommendation that this sexy lion shifter, I didn't really care about the sexy part, but this lion shifter was heavily involved and that there was a romance between him and the main character. And in the first book, he's not very involved. So if I hadn't known that that was part of it, I probably wouldn't have continued the series, because I'm more interested in interpersonal relationships than in magical mysteries and battles, which is a lot of what this series is about. But once you get into the second book and beyond, there's a lot more of that interpersonal relationship stuff, which is more what I like. There's a lot of found family and really close relationships that are just really sweet, and that's what I like about the series. So I would say the series overall gets a 4.5 stars from me, and I don't consider the fact that the lion shifter is heavily involved a spoiler, because there is a big lion on the cover of every single book. So the first book is called Magic Bites, and as you can see, there is a woman on the cover with a sword, and kind of behind her, there's a big old lion face. And then that's kind of the formula for every cover after that. And I actually do like that it was a fairly slow burn relationship, because that's more realistic in my mind. And I really like that about this and about a lot of fantasies that have side plot romances. A lot of them are more slow burn than when a romance is the main plot, and I actually really like that. What's hard to find is a story where the romance is slow burn, but it's also the focus of the book. So that's my favorite thing. In this case, it's slow burn, but it's not the main focus. But it does become more of a focus definitely after the first book. So more specifics about the main part of the plot. This is about Kate Daniels, who is a loner. She actually, at the very beginning of the first book, finds out that someone who had been like a father to her has died, that she is basically now alone in the world, because he was the only one who was like family or even a close friend that she had. And so she is going to investigate his death, and to do so, she kind of has to go into the lion's den. I actually didn't mean it that way, but she has to do that too. She has to go into an organization that she had avoided because they are too authoritarian, but that her kind of foster father was a part of. So in order to get the details on what he was doing, she has to go to them. She also ends up having to go to our lion shifter for help, and that's how they meet. There are also vampires in this story, but they're very different from the usual vampires. These vampires don't have any kind of consciousness. They are automatons that are piloted by necromancers. And so when you go to the vampires for help, you're actually going to the necromancers for help. There are also witches in these stories, although I don't think they come up much in the first book, and there end up being lots of different types of magical creatures and magic practitioners. And that's kind of a fun aspect as well, getting to see all these different varieties and how they live in this world, because this world is unique in urban fantasy is what I would call it, urban mystery fantasy, in that magic comes and goes. So there's these times when magic is kind of in control of the world, and lots of magical hijinks happen, and everything has to run on magic, and technology does not work. And then there's times when the magic recedes and technology works again, but it's very hard to do any kind of magic. Shifting back and forth has kind of led to a lot of chaos and a lot of infrastructure being destroyed, and so power dynamics are very different now. The human government only has kind of a little bit of power. Most of the power is now in the hands of magical creatures of various kinds. Or the Order, which is the nasty authoritarian people she doesn't want to go to, who are humans but also can practice magic. And so they have quite a bit of power themselves. So the first book is about our main character trying to figure out who murdered her friend and foster father, and in the meantime getting into trying to prevent a war between the necromancers and the shapeshifters. And it's relatively low stakes in that the world isn't going to be destroyed. It's about the level of stakes that I like. The stakes in the series gradually ratchet up to a level that's a little bit more than I like, that's like just too stressful the entire time. That's why this series gets a 4.5 instead of a 5 stars. For characters, the series gets a 5 stars. For basically everything except the overly high stakes, it gets a 5 stars, including the relationship between our lion shifter and our main character. Want to hear my cat purr? That's Sam. So I really enjoyed it a lot, and that's it for the vague portion. If you want to know more spoilery info, that's what I'm going to go into next. So I'll put a break here, and then if you want to continue on, you can keep watching. And if you don't want to hear any more specifics about beyond the first book, you should go ahead and leave now. Thank you for watching. The specifics that I want to talk about are kind of the arc of the whole series. So, as I said, in the first book, we don't spend a lot of time with our lion shifter. There's a fair amount more time spent in the second book and quite a bit in the third book. And then from the fourth book onwards, our main character is either in the same location as the lion shifter or is thinking about the lion shifter the vast majority of the time. So I do like how it gradually increases that amount. But I will say that I did skim some portions in the early times when I was like, get back to the lion shifter. I don't care about this magical drama. But if you really like the urban fantasy, then I really think the world building is really excellent, and you will not mind the slow burn to get to the fun relationship with the lion shifter. And the romance between them is really sweet. It's also quite funny because they're both very dominant personalities, so they butt heads a lot. But I really like the way that they negotiate how to keep their fights in such a way that they don't get hurt too badly and that they don't let there be a breakdown of communication. That's pretty great. And then for the arc of increasing tension and stakes, we have that our main character is the daughter of a super powerful evil villain, and he will destroy her if he finds out she exists. He does find out she exists and kind of starts poking and prodding at seeing like how easy it would be to destroy her around the 7th book. And then we get gradually more like we're all going to die and everything's going to be horrible from that point on. And I didn't really enjoy that. One other thing to be concerned about is there are 2 side character deaths. I usually avoid books that have character deaths that are like prominent characters. These are, I would say, tertiary characters, both of them, and I'm going to say who it is right now. So one is one I didn't really care about in book 2 or 3. No, it's 2. The magical guy who gets introduced in that one and who's like a archer person, he dies. I didn't care about that, but the main character really cared. And then Aunt B, who is a shapeshifter, dies in book 6. And that hurt my feelings, but not horribly badly because she was a tertiary character. Like if, for example, Andrea had died, I probably would have quit the series, but it was just Aunt B. I adore the vast majority of the characters. So like Derek, Julie, even Jim, even though he's a real piece of work in book 10, I think, I still love him. I forgive him. And I also, interestingly enough, didn't think I was ever going to forgive Hugh, but the stuff that was revealed about him in book 10 was like, oh, okay, I forgive you too. And I also kind of love you. I noticed that he was likable in book 6, but then he did such horrible things. I was like, that's not redeemable. And then book 10 came and I was like, oh, I guess it is. And I also, interestingly enough, was hoping to like Nick at the very first book. And then I was like, oh, wow, he's a dick, for a while in the middle there. And then I was like, oh, I like him again at the end. So these authors, Ilona Andrews is a pseudonym for husband and wife team writing, do a really good job of character work and like making complicated characters. I find that very difficult in my own work, and I find that a lot of authors try to make complicated characters and end up just making jerks who are not likable or who are not good anti-heroes, and kind of fail at their attempt, but this author does excellently. Yeah, so book 5 is my favorite, I think, because it's the book where the lion character and our main character are together, but the ridiculously high stakes have not started yet. They kind of start in book 6 and everything is stressful after that, but things are like not too ridiculously stressful in book 5 as they are not too stressful in all the books previous to that, but you have the most time with the lion character in book 5 compared to books 1 through 4. I think that's everything I wanted to say about it. Thank you so much for watching. I'd also like to show you something. This is the case for Everything Grows in Jita's Garden. It's really beautiful. I ordered a special pack that came with the case and some Palestinian seeds as a pre-order. This is the picture book. It's about that thick, and it is by Janan A. Matari, illustrated by Aya Ganame, and it is about a little Palestinian girl, Palestinian American, I'm pretty sure, talking to her grandfather about Palestine. I haven't actually read it yet, but I'm going to read it, and then it will be probably in the next book review. But if you're interested already, here it is. I'll link it below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. If you'd like to leave an emoji, how about something fall themed, like a leaf? Bye.